Hello, ESTPs. My name is host Eric, and I am providing for you an evaluation of this type as understood through the Qurf model. This model is in beta testing, so to speak, so if you find that it applies to you, and if you like leaving a comment indicating that, that'd be great. To the contrary, also great. Either way, um, let's go march right ahead. According to the Qurf model, we divide everything in the cognitive function domain into two key categories. First being time, and the second being space. You can also consider those entropy and stasis. The ESTP leads with SE, which is extroverted sensing. Extroverted sensing is a function that is going to be engaged with the world through the body. And a person who leads with this function is probably going to like clothing, purchasing objects. They're going to want fancy toys, so to speak. Um, Such a person is likely also to engage through the world through kinesthetics, which is to say sports, activities where you go fast, do crazy stuff, that kind of thing. Now, they followed up with TI, but it's important to note that in the model here that we have under Qurf, SE is a space function, which means that it is fundamentally about stasis. So if you have the space function, it means you assume that thing that you are functioning upon is changing, and you want to lock it down and make it still. So for somebody with SE, they're going to want to organize their stuff a certain amount. They're going to want to have certain kinds of objects. They're going to want to experience the world through their body in terms of experiential activities like rock climbing, jogging. They're going to probably exercise a lot. They're going to see their body as something that needs to be worked upon, that it is in flux and needs to be locked down. What that means is they're going to care about gaining and losing weight, if they look old or young, losing their hair turning gray, stuff like that. They're going to care about that. It's going to bother them. This is according to the Qurf model. TI, you've got, it's going to take longer than 5 minutes, huh? Probably. TI here, you've got introverted thinking second. I think it's interesting to note is the ESTP is probably underestimated somewhat by N types on the grounds that, well, they lead with S instead of N. And yeah, they may have TI in the second slot, but still. Well, don't underestimate TI. TI is the function that allows an individual to adapt more than any other ability a person can have. And it's in his functioning, it's in the second slot there for the ESTP, which makes the ESTP very bright if they go that direction. It really depends on what you prioritize in your life as to how those functions are going to manifest. If you apply all your TI towards activity X, then it's going to be reflective of that. All right, so FE and NI. You've got SE, TI, FE, NI. FE we know is extroverted feeling. Extroverted feeling is a time function. It's a time function because you are assuming the world outside of you is static. People have static feelings and just sort of in a position of status. This is a position of stasis. This is an underlying assumption. It's not something you're consciously thinking of. And you wish to go make change upon them. Similarly with TI. TI is another time function. Why is TI a time function? Well, if we think about it, TE means we've got disorder out here in the world, we want to organize it. TI means we've got an abstract model in here and it's malleable. We can change it. But not for the purpose of ordering it, right? But for the purpose of reconstructing it, changing it. So we're assuming our models are static so that we can work on them. Now, this assumption idea might throw some people for a loop. Wait, you're assuming it's static so that you can change it? I don't understand. Well, basically, when one makes a change, one comes at it from one direction or the other. One either is saying, this thing is moving around too much, I need to lock it down, you're changing it. Or, this thing is not doing enough, I need to make it into something else. Redirect it some way. In which case, you're changing it. Either way, you're changing, but it's from a different direction. Time and space people, that's what that, or functions, that's what that tells us. So the ESTP has two space and two time functions. They are space dominant, which means if you were to think about it from a point score, there are 9 on the space side, 6 on the time side. So that's the ratio of strength of their respective functions. They're 9-6 leaning space. Okay? ESTP, when it comes to the other thing that you are going to seek stasis for, is problems. You want singular solutions. You want the right way, put it to bed, and you use your introverted intuition to find that singular solution. You're seeking it, but you're about as good at that as we are, ENTPs, at our introverted sensing. So what that means is you're not going to happen upon a lot of intuitive solutions pop into your head. You're going to have to utilize the skills that you have instead, which include an awareness in the moment that allows you to be powerful in a way that types might not quite understand. Now, it's important to note these. This is the next factor of the Qurf model I want to go through. Your default approach, proceed. Your secondary approach, render. The complement of your secondary approach is get, and the default complement is finalize. These words here are good function verbs to use to describe what your cognitive functions actually function to do in the larger system to make sure that larger system is running smoothly. Which means your first job in life basically is to go ahead with the status quo, more or less. Proceed. Proceed forward in what you're doing, what the plan is, what you got going on right now. It's a very now-focused, present-focused function. Second approach is to render. That means to use your introverted thinking to convert what's happening into meaning. We both do this. The ENTP and the ESTP converts this into meaning in this fashion, but we convert it in different time spaces, so to speak. You're converting what's right in front of you right now. It makes the ESTP uniquely well positioned to take advantage of sudden opportunities. So that's a great thing about ESTP because ENTP won't realize it was a sudden opportunity until 3 hours later. However, keep in mind, ESTP has to do this through thinking primarily. They're not going to intuit it. So, a well-developed, healthy ESTP in maturity, so to speak, is going to be very quick, very sharp with their direct, deductive mental analyses of data in front of them. They're going to be extremely good at gathering that data, and they're going to be extremely sharp at processing it. They're not going to be very good at gut guessing what the meaning is that they're looking for. Okay. Note that it says get in the third. Get in the third place for us too. And what that means is we are both people pleasers, but it's not a top priority. It's third in line, and that means we're going to prioritize the other two things ahead of it. So we're going to seem not at all necessarily like people pleasers to many other external people who may view us as sometimes callous or insensitive or not mindful enough. And that's something the ESTP and ENTP both share, this criticism of not being mindful enough. Whether it's valid or not is irrelevant. Okay, so ESTP, this is the profile I have for you under this model. And I want to just say that as a leading with SE, your reality engine, so to speak, is fusion, which is to say, mushing together things. You engage with this process engages with others as agents, which means you're not dealing with them as objects. Like if you were to say, um, where does it do its work, right? Well, it does it in the world, but it doesn't do it on physical objects. It does it as on other people and other agency. Okay, its terrain is action. It manifests as proceed, as we mentioned. It necessitates. If you have SE, you have to have NI, finalize. So to proceed necessitates its mirror function, which is to finalize. And so it's my position that these things are going to be in a 8-to-1 ratio, that you will weight your first function approximately 8 times heavier than your fourth, because there's 4 of them and it makes sense that way. And the other thing is, my position is you walk through these perspectives in order. It's not a matter of sometimes you use this, sometimes you use that. Although that's true, you end up reflecting that perspective in certain circumstances. You've already processed through the other two and they've not worked. You simply go in order. And the reality is some of us spend more time avoiding our backhand when we're practicing our tennis strokes, so to speak, than others do. For the ENTP, and I suspect for the ESTP as well, to the extent that we can get away with, the ENTP can get away with being messy, not keeping track of schedules, being flaky, all that kind of stuff, we will. We are running around our backhand to try to just stay in the moment with any intuiting the shit out of stuff, you know? SE, I don't doubt, is exactly the same in its relationship with NI, which is to say, you don't want to have to make gut realizations of truth that are right in front of your face, because that's not how you like to get your meaning. I will say in the last few minutes of this video, I guess we're going to go longer than I thought. I don't know. I'm just going to put it up at 15, I guess. But last thing I want to say about this model and the way it works is when you look at all of the functions as what they manifest as in the system as functions, actually in the system of interaction with objects in the world, other people as agents, and with time objects, which are things like these videos and stuff, or experiences processed into meaning one way or the other, stories, messages, whatever. When you look at all that sort of stuff, you'll see that if you imagine a system that includes all that stuff, including dimensions of time in both directions, and including multiple kinds of narratives that extend out in both those directions, you will discover that push, render, get, stay, disrupt, finalize, proceed, and regulate is enough to keep the system healthy. It's all checks and balances, right? So, for you, SE, as proceed, you are functioning as the continuity of the status quo, plus the willingness to go forward against it. So you're kind of the either way guy. You can embrace the status quo and run right along with it, but you are an action-oriented person. So if the time calls upon it, you might well proceed to opposing that status quo. It's unusual for a type. Anyhow, that's my read on you. Oh, the other thing is, what you fundamentally prioritize more than anything else is oneness. Not just connection, but conjoining. Conjoining with your experiences by losing yourself in the feeling of exercise or something like that. By conjoining yourself with others, however temporarily. So that's the Qurf model's assessment of the ESTP personality type. If I was totally wrong, please let me know so I can say, oh, it looks like I was wrong. And thank you for watching Talking with Famous People. Talking with famous people.